I'm Lawrence Okonofua, and this is my Lagos story. I came to Lagos sometime in 1965, stayed with an uncle in Falomo, Ikoyi, and then when I got employment, I moved into YMCA hostel, that's Young Men Christian Association Hostel, somewhere in Oshodi, Lagos Island. From there, eventually, as I made progress, I moved into a rented apartment in Pike Street. And when I married, I now moved from Pike Street. I was transferred to Benin. I was in Benin for about 6 or so years. Was transferred back to Lagos. Still went into a rented apartment somewhere in Ijesha-Tedo. Before I eventually was transferred to Kano. And when I came back from Kano in 1990, I moved into my personal house. 1999 in Silver Estate, Idimu Road by Christian College, Idimu. My first property was actually in Benin, 1981 or 82 in Benin, because at that time I thought when I retired I would go to my state capital. Staying with somebody, there are things you don't like in the house, but because it's not your personal house, you can't do anything about it. You tell the landlord or oftentimes the caretaker, and the caretaker says, okay, I hear. Month in, month out, the caretaker doesn't do it. And as I grew older, I found my initial decision that when I retire, go to Benin will not be ideal, because my children then were still in various institutions in Lagos, so it was better for me to just stay in Lagos until they finished. So that's when I now started looking out for personal property, but it took some time, because at times I first got one at Ijegun, somewhere in Ijegun. By the time we paid a deposit, it turned out that it wasn't his property, and we had to ask for a refund. I took some time to actually get a refund. So I was not till I needed to make some inquiry before simply paying. Not every estate agent I saw was a genuine estate agent. So somehow we started looking out. But of course, we had some disappointment here and there, because they advertise, and by the time you pay the deposit, they take you to places you can't stay. You can't dream of staying. Until eventually I met somebody in the parish, said, oh, there was something in Silver Estate. And when we came, we went around, asked a few questions around, and it was clear that the owner really said he wanted to sell the property. We met the owner by accident. We were somewhere else and discussing. I said, oh, you are the person they say is interested in the property. When I asked about him, that was how we eventually got the property in Silver Estate. I have a good memory. I will always quote the man. Late Mr. Banjo was a distinguished landlord. We were living in 2 rooms there, and they managed to wash the toilets of the house. And one day I asked him, and they said, oh, you are a tenant. Someday you will live here. This is my property, so I must maintain it. That's a very good one I had. And then another good, when I was in Daleko, Ejigbo here, my toilet was leaking. The caretaker was visiting that day, and he saw a plumber going in and out. He said, what is this? And I said, oh, my toilet is leaking. I said, and you didn't tell us? I said, well, the inconvenience is mine. It is not a major repair. So let me take care of it and reduce the inconveniences of having to be packing water and waste from the ground, because the toilet was leaking. And he was impressed and actually said, when I'm leaving, I should simply drop the key. Because then his standard was when the tenant is to leave, he must come and inspect first. But I say, from what I have seen, when you are leaving, please drop the key. But the horrible experience was somewhere at Jeshatedo. The property was very good but we entered in October. And when the rain came, we first bought rain boots, and eventually we found the rain boots could not storm the flood. And in the night, you have an orchestra of frogs all over the place. That after that we had to park on the road. And if you know where Jeshatedo, there was a time even we were parking on the express to go home, because you can't drive to the property. But in October when we took that property, the place was dry. We didn't realize that it was that challenge. So throughout the rainy season, we'll be swimming in and out of because the house was raised. So the bungalow, the house was raised, but we didn't realize that it was. And of course, when there is flood, things from the soak will also come and float on the soil. It was we paid for 2 years. It was a raw experience. Well, the lady said there was nothing she could do. We could manage. What they could do is at the end of the 2 years, we can leave. And that was eventually and that was one of those things that actually guided, or that was one of the things at the back of my mind, that I decided it was next to get something, to a property in Lagos to house me before we eventually came here. Well, I would, because in Lagos, like you very well know, land is becoming scarce. Yes, and so you must make detailed inquiry, preferably going to the Ministry of Lands and Housing. I hope they still call it Lands and Housing in Lagos, but the ministry, whichever ministry is in charge of lands and property, it's good to get there and make inquiries. And of course, also try to size out, forgive the word, the use of the responsible real estate agents. Not every real estate agent card you see. Try to make inquiries about them. And then when they tell you about the property, try to also go and make inquiries about them. A friend lost his entire gratuity because he didn't realize the children of the man, they had 2 or more, he had multiple wives. He bought from a faction, and when the faction got the money, they disappeared into thin air. So what he worked for some 30 years went into but these days we've seen there's some regulatory authorities in virtually every state. It's good to go there and make inquiries, and where possible, especially now, try and regularize as much as it is with the government. Even when we came here, we first bought the property, then later they said Silver and the committee that owns the place were in court. By the time the judgment was given, we had to pay regularization fee. Those are the inquiries you try to make. But if you go to the ministry, you go to and make diligent inquiry, you avoid loss. Even though people are still incurring loss, but try and make as much inquiry. But no, because we are human beings, no system is 100% proof. But make those inquiries, and at least you won't be biting your fingers too much. Really, you have done the best you could. And if that was the result, we'll accept it as one of those things.